Good morning. I am Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz. I am joined today by many people. I'll identify some. Chief Essig will identify others. But I am joined chiefly by James Essig, who is the Chief of Ds. From my office are Chief Assistant District Attorney Nyberg, Executive Assistant District Attorney Jerry Brave, John Sennett, who is Chief of our Violent Criminal Enterprise Bureau. I would also like to recognize Assistant District Attorneys Graham Amadeo, Genevieve Gadaletta, and Alana Weber, whose stellar efforts helped bring us here today. I want to begin today by reiterating a commitment to the people of Queens County that I made a long time ago. We are doing all we can to make sure that our communities are safe this summer and that the streets our kids play on are safe. I am proud that my office is partnering with organizations and civic leaders to provide recreational opportunities, mentoring opportunities, diversion programs, all for our young people. Since becoming the district attorney, I have made it a priority on focusing on arresting and prosecuting those drivers of crime. The drivers of crime in our communities that are determined to make it difficult for everyone else, and who demonstrate and terrorize and demonstrate a complete lack of regard for human life. As you are well aware, guns seem to be everywhere today. The issues of guns and gun-related violence seems insurmountable. But that's only to some, because today we are all here to assure the community that is affected that block by block, as long as it takes, we will not allow gun violence and gangs to become the norm, not here in Queens County. We are here to announce the indictment of 28 individuals. They've been indicted by a Queens County grand jury. They are mostly picked up right now, and we look forward to prosecuting and working with the police department and working on those cases. The defendants that are alleged members of warring gang factions within the Queensbridge and Ravenswood public housing developments in Astoria and Long Island City. They have variously been charged with murder, attempted murder, assault, attempted assault, criminal possession of a weapon, and many other crimes. They've all been charged with conspiracy to commit murder and possess firearms. This is an amazing leap forward that should put every gang member in Queens on notice. If you are committing havoc on our streets and you are putting the public in harm's way, we are going to find you. We are going to prosecute you. Folks are killing each other. They are shooting each other, often in broad daylight, often with innocent bystanders nearby. And one shooting, let's remember, triggers another act of violence that leads to several more. The defendants are charged in a 141-count indictment. 2 of the defendants are accused of carrying out the brazen, broad daylight killing of a school teacher named George Rosa. The 53-year-old victim was walking his dog near the Queensbridge houses when he was struck by a stray bullet after 2 alleged Ravenswood gang members shot and missed a Queensbridge foe on July 25th, 2020. Mr. Rosa died just over a month later from a fatal gunshot wound. In addition to the murder in the second-degree charge in relation to the killing of Mr. Rosa, there are other conspiracies to commit murder, each with a related conspiracy to possess illegal guns, and a single count of assault in the first degree. Also charged in this single indictment are 23 counts of attempted murder in the second degree, 19 counts of attempted assault in the first degree, 6 counts of assault in the second degree, 54 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, and 19 counts of reckless endangerment for the 28 defendants today. This is an indictment that reflects the rivalries and the battles within the Queensbridge and Ravenswood developments. One battle consists of rival gangs within Queensbridge fighting each other for dominance in that particular development. The other battle is between those gangs in Queensbridge and the gang members in nearby Ravenswood, purely for geographical dominance. According to the indictment, the defendants are allegedly members or associates of one of three large rival groups and gangs: JetBlue and Mac Bowlers in Queensbridge, and Money in the Motivation, Obligation to Money in Ravenswood, each of which has its own affiliations with each gangs in the area. Members and associates of the two Queensbridge groups are accused of conspiring to commit and committing criminal violent acts against each other in order to assert their dominance within the development. In addition to the rivalry between JetBlue and Mac Bowlers, a separate feud between Queensbridge fractions and Ravenswood gang members allegedly resulted in violent criminal activity, including the previously stated two homicides, the 25th killing of George Rosa and the as of yet unsolved August 9th, 2020 killing of Magdi Saleh, an alleged gang member from Queensbridge and the brother of indicted Mac Bowler, Mohammed Saleh. It was common practice for members and associates of one group to travel to territory controlled by another, typically in a vehicle to seek out rival gang members to target, a process referred to as spinning or spinning the block. These alleged acts of violence between the rival gang members were typically precipitated by such spinning. It was also part of the conspiracies for members and associates to purchase, to possess, transport, and keep readily available loaded firearms and ammunition. As part of the conspiracies, gang members and associates allegedly used code words and phrases to hide the criminal activity of their communication and to avoid detection and apprehension by members of law enforcement. Among those code words and phrases were various references to firearms, references such as Jackie or Jumanji, short, girl, grip, heat, and many other names. It was also part of the conspiracies for the defendants to communicate with gang members and associates on behalf of incarcerated members in order to convey messages, orders, and other directives to members on the street, such as communications, was encoded, guarded, and crypted language to avoid detection and apprehension by members of law enforcement. Attorneys from my office and members of the NYPD's Gun Violence Suppression Division worked tirelessly to uncover these criminal conspiracies. We focused our investigation on where guns and gangs have been a toxic combination for far too long, perpetrated by individual drivers of crime and violence. One of the bullets pierced the window of a nearby apartment and landed on a kitchen counter, as you can see in one of these laws over here. Cases like this are not about casting a broad net. They're about focusing our law enforcement resources on people who are the most dangerous and drive violence in our community. You should be able to walk your dog in safety and know that you're going to come home to your loved ones. You should be able to return home without finding a bullet hole in your window and a stray bullet on your kitchen counter. And you should be able to send your kids to the park and know that they will be home for dinner. That is the least the constituents of Queens County deserve. Fear cannot win. We will not allow fear to win. In addition to all those I've already thanked from my office, and I would like to give a particular thank to John Sennett, who runs our Violent Criminal Enterprise Bureau. He is amazing in putting these cases together, the patience, the critical thinking that comes with these cases. They're not easy to make. He does it well, and he does it with grace and with expertise. And in addition, I would also like to express my gratitude to NYPD detectives Stephen Berardi and Kellen O'Neill, who led the investigation under the supervision of Sergeant Andrew Dunton, under the overall supervision of Captain Thomas Basalo and Deputy Chief Jason Savino of the Gun Violence Suppression Division. The 114th Detective Squad is supervised by Brian Hillman. And from my team again, everyone, thank you so much for the work that you have done in making this come to fruition today. I would like to now thank James Essig, who, Chief of D's, has done an amazing job when it comes to gang activity. And I thank him for all the work that he puts in for the city of New York every day.
Thank you, District Attorney Katz. These cases, and before I start, I thank John Senate and District Attorney Katz's entire team. These cases are very difficult, in-depth investigations that take coordination between the District Attorney's Office, the Police Department, in this case, Gun Violence Division, and the 114 Squad. So I want to thank everybody for this case. Very great case. I've been doing these cases for a while. This is one of the best I've seen. And we're getting into the investigation a little bit. With me today, Captain Tommy Pasolo, Detectives O'Neill and Galati, who did the case. And I'd like to really thank the 114 Detective Squad who's here too. Brian Hogan is the commanding officer over there. Great job by everybody. So for the last year, we've seen huge increases in violence from our previous historic lows. Violence is driven by gangs, whether it's a narcotics gang, a financial crime gang, a robbery gang, or in many instances, historical beefs between rival gangs. Gangs are the drivers of violence in New York City. In the past few months, we have taken down numerous gangs in various boroughs throughout the city. Just last week, or a couple of weeks ago, we were in Queens at this podium announcing the Rockaway case taken down. Today, the Gun Violence Suppression Division, along with the Queens District Attorney's Office, has concluded a years-long investigation into a violent gang between two warring factions in the Ravenswood and Queensbridge housing developments. Historically, when Gun Violence Suppression Division conducts these investigations and removes the people who think it's all right to fire a gun in New York City, we have seen a dramatic reduction in these type of incidents. At a press conference 2 days ago, I was in the Bronx with a financial crimes gang case where we took 14 guns and 8 individuals off the street. Yesterday, a firearms trafficking case, 22 guns recovered, 6 individuals. Today, it's the Queensbridge and Ravenswood case. So in the coming weeks and months, we will announce more gang indictments. It's our belief that this is how we will begin to reduce the carnage that these gangs inflict in our city. So with the investigation into this, I'd like to turn it over to a captain in the special in the gun violence, Tommy Pasolo.
Thank you, Chief Essig. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Captain Thomas Pasolo, Commanding Officer of the Gun Violence Suppression Division, Zone 1. First and foremost, I would like to thank District Attorney Melinda Katz for her continued partnership in the fight to keep the drivers of violence, the trigger pullers, off the streets of Queens. I would also like to express my gratitude to John Senate and his team in the Violent Crimes Enterprise Bureau for their tireless efforts with this case and these court proceedings. It's been a fight with COVID and the delays it has caused throughout, so thank you. I'd also like to thank Chief Jason Savino, the Commanding Officer of the Gun Violence Suppression Division, and every officer within. I want to acknowledge the case supervisor, Sergeant Andrew Dunn, and the 2 lead case detectives, Detective Stephen Barati and Detective Kellen O'Neill. A phenomenal case with truly impressive results. Everyone else who was involved in this case, from Inspector Mike Klutzel and his team at Warrants, to PSA 9, 114 precinct personnel, and the 114 Detective Squad. This case has been a team effort with laser focus on the right individuals. This case started approximately 2 years ago due to ongoing violence within the Queensbridge housing development. The violence continued and we observed the violence spreading to the Ravenswood housing development. Over the course of this investigation, we were able to charge a total of 20 firearm-related acts of violence, 1 homicide, 6 non-fatal shootings, and 13 reckless endangerments, attempted murders. We know each of those shots fired were directed towards someone. Of the 28 individuals charged in this conspiracy, 20 reside in or have ties to the Queensbridge housing development, and 7 individuals live in or have ties to the Ravenswood housing development. This is truly precision policing at its finest. These are the trigger pullers. These are the individuals that make the everyday, hardworking men and women of Queens fear for their safety just by leaving their homes. It is not okay, and we do not find these actions acceptable. This is the second long-term case that the Gun Violence Suppression Division, working in partnership with the Queens County District Attorney's Office, has successfully brought to fruition within the last 4 weeks. It is truly a partnership. The results have been impressive. We will not stop. We will continue our efforts to cure the city of this pandemic of violence. This is why we became police, to arrest trigger pullers and keep the citizens of New York City safe. Thank you.
happy to take questions if you like.
Hi guys, Karen with CBS Channel 2. I have a question for you, Mr. Attorney, or for Chief of Detectives. You know, we were on the weekend, for example, on Sunday, there was a mass shooting here in Queens, and 7 innocent lives, 10 persons shot. So we were told at the time that it was gang related. And so can you speak about the increasing violence and what is your message? Or how are you specifically targeting instances like that? And what's going into those investigations? How many of them are tied together?
So clearly it's an open investigation, which we can't talk a lot about. We can only say that this is a prime example of the fact that is not the norm in Queens County, nor in the city of New York. We're not going to allow it. We will find the shooters, and in the gang activity, we will put together the pieces of that gang activity. But I do think the brazenness and the willingness of people to just have firearms on the street, out in the open, and shoot people as they are running down a street, which they know, by the way, there are cameras everywhere, is exactly why we're here today. And making it very clear to the gang activity out there that we will, block by block, come after the gangs and make sure that the shooters are off the street. You want to talk about the gang connection?
Yeah, you know, in that case, it's an active investigation. The 115, 10 people shot. What I can say on that is the detectives in the 115 precinct are working tirelessly and relentlessly. We have made some progress, and that investigation continues. As far as gang shootings citywide, one gang shooting begets another gang shooting. The retaliation occurs. That's why it's so important to take these gangs out across the city. And as I said before, in the weeks, months ahead, you're going to see many more gang takedowns. We're going to hope to quell this violence that we see in the city.
Just to follow up to that, as you mentioned, Mr. Attorney, how who these criminals are, cameras around, all of that. How much is it playing a part right now with COVID and the fact that they can wear masks? And, that's more acceptable, and how much do you need the public to sort of help in those cases?
Well, gang shootings are very difficult to solve. You have, especially now, you have masks, you have uncooperative complainants. So that's why we have to do cases like this, where we look at the whole totality of the situation and we're able to put together a violent conspiracy case. That's why these cases are so important. But in the last year or so, we've seen so many increases. The three main factors: multiple guns on the scene, masked up perpetrators, scooters, vehicles being used. They are, as the district attorney said, emboldened. They're very brazen, as you've seen in the 10 people shot incident, where there's cameras right there. They're masked up. It's very difficult to ID them. But our detectives will work, as I said, relentlessly to bring those people to justice.
Question from Brittany Gerson, Daily News, for anybody. I know you just said that it's an open investigation about the 10-person shooting. Can you say if there are any people that you're looking at, any people of interest at this time?
I'm not at liberty to say that now. When it's time, we'll make an announcement. We are working with the district attorney, and all I can say is we are working tirelessly on that case.
And one more question, I'm sorry. The guns here and the guns that you've been seizing from these gang members, do you have a sense whether they're new guns or whether they've been in the community for quite some time?
Good morning, Sergeant Joe from Gun Violence. The guns that you see here before you have been seized throughout the investigation by various units, patrol units, my unit, PSNI as well from New York City Police Department. The gun you see here is every serial. Every gun has a serial number. Those guns, working in partnership with the ATF, have been traced to its origin. These here have been on the street for some time, in excess amount of days. They're not just purchasing them wherever they may be purchased and up here, but they have been in the area for some time. And we are working in partnership with the ATF.
But in general, a lot of the difficulties that happen are shared guns in the community, a gun that has been used by several people. That sometimes leads to issues in the investigation. Guns coming up through the Iron Pipeline from North Carolina, Virginia. They buy them legally there, they come up, they sell them to our kids in Queens County. And so, each investigation brings with it its own challenges. And by the way, that is why we're here today after so long an investigation, to show these are not easy investigations, as Chief Essig said. They require diligence, they require expertise, they require cooperation between the police, the DA's office, and by the way, many times the community. And part of the other side of my office in community building and trust building is that we do want people to come forward, and we do want folks to know that the DA's office, the police department are here not only to catch folks after shootings and after the trigger is pulled, but before people ever get involved in the court system at all.
DA, I just have one question about the 8 shooting victims. Were the victims mostly gang members? And I guess you mentioned that one teacher that was innocent bystander?
Most of the non-fatal victims were opposing gang members. Much of the indictment consists of opposite gang members committing crimes against one another. Unfortunately, as you're aware, Mr. Rosa was an innocent bystander in this case.
When you say most of the 7, do you mean all of the 7 are gang members? And non-fatal?
Not all of them, but a significant number of them. It's not something I think that we want to go into right now as we're prosecuting the case. But Mr. Rosa was the only blatantly innocent victim who had no relationship whatsoever to the conflict.
Last question. Could somebody talk about the shooting this morning in Queens where 2 people were shot on the bus in Jamaica?
I believe we're going to be having a press conference shortly down in the 103. What I could say about that right now is we have a dispute on the street, a stare down between 2 people. One of those people who was disputing gets on the bus. The other man pulls a gun, fires into the bus, striking 2 innocent people on that bus. An off-duty police officer who was going to work, along with responding patrol officers, observed him leaving after the shooting. They recover the gun, and he's under arrest right now, and we'll be giving you more details on that shortly.
One question on topic.
One more question, please, to the district attorney. Sorry if I missed this. Out of the 28 defendants, how many are behind bars right now? How confident you are that they may remain behind bars, since we have fairly new recent laws regarding the bail reform? And the other question is, are there any federal charges in connection to the unlawful possession of these guns?
So not at the moment. 10 were previously in custody already. Some for the crimes are in this indictment with superseding indictment. 11 were picked up yesterday morning, and the rest are at large still. So the indictment is an open indictment. It's unsealed, and I believe it's available as well. And we'll be happy to give that a copy of that to you.
So far, no federal charges regarding the unlawful
So far,
possession of a gun. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.